session. This is a discussion on House Bill 336 with the hopes of possibly going to a vote session later on today. Claire, would you explain what the bill does as amended, please?
So the amendments create a new procedure for the issuance of criminal summonses and arrest warrants by the district court. As amended, the bill limits the circumstances under which a district court commissioner may issue a criminal summons or an arrest warrant to an individual other than a police officer or a state's attorney. Under the amendments, a district court commissioner may issue a summons based on an application for a statement of charges submitted by an individual who is not a police officer or a state's attorney if the commissioner determines that there's probable cause that the defendant committed the offense or offenses charged in the charging document. On review of an application for a statement of charges submitted by an individual who's not a police officer or a state's attorney, a commissioner may not issue an arrest warrant when the district court is open for business, must refer the application for a statement of charges to a district court judge for review and prompt determination of whether a summons or arrest warrant shall issue when the district court's open for business, and if the commissioner finds that there's probable cause to believe that the defendant poses a danger to another person or to the community. And the commissioner may issue an arrest warrant when the district court is not open for business if the commissioner determines that there's probable cause that the defendant committed the offense or offenses charged in the charging document, and there's probable cause to believe that the defendant poses a danger to another person or to the community. If the commissioner issues an arrest warrant when the district court is not open for business, the state's attorney must review the case within 72 hours to determine whether to request that a judge of the district court or the circuit court recall the arrest warrant and issue a summons in its place. The district court must provide victims of crime with access to information regarding whether an arrest warrant has been recalled after being issued in response to an application for a statement of charges filed by the victim. The amendments also add reporting requirements that the judiciary must fulfill. The reporting relates to applications for statements of charges and arrest warrants. That's got to be reported to the General Assembly each year. And the amendments further restore current law relating to the crime of making a false statement to the government. I'm sorry, what was the question? Does it restore the penalty? No. It's 6 months. It does. It leaves it where it is. At 6 months. Bill, so it stays. It's out of the bill. Okay. Did you? That's it. Okay. Thank you, Claire. Okay, Delegate Taylor, questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is really not on the amendment, but just on the bill itself. I have a note here that says about 50% of the complaints end up in arrest warrants through the commissioner system. How many of these, do we know how many of those end up being false?
No, and that's why we have that reporting mechanism in the bill.
So we don't know that information, but what we do know is that a lot of them end up being false. Majority. We don't know that. I can't confirm or deny that because I don't have that data and I haven't seen it. I know Delegate Embry, you had some data. Do you have the data that answers that question?
Two sets of data. One from the city because I just know their system. And then I asked statewide data. I do not have the statewide data yet at all. The city preliminarily, just for 2026.
2025.
26 is what I had. Oh, are you sure? I thought it was.
The numbers I got were 2025.
Oh, okay.
I believe.
Okay, no, let me double. Anyway, but it showed that over 90% did not result in a conviction. So that doesn't mean it didn't happen. It's just that's the only thing that can be measured. You can't really measure whether or not it was false or not. So
Okay.
But
And
that
then,
is the data, one of the data points I was very curious about.
and then I don't know if this shows up somewhere, but do other states have a commissioner system like we do?
No.
So we're the only ones?
I don't know if we're the only one, but some states have it. Not a lot of states have it. Are we the only one that you know of?
I think there are a couple of states that have similar scenarios where an individual can bring a complaint. In those states, if I recall the testimony, there are other states that allow an individual to bring a complaint. Generally, they do not go through a commissioner.
Okay. So
Okay.
with the amendments that we proposed, I know we're inching ourselves forward, but do we feel like we're really addressing the issue here?
Well, I feel like we are. Here's the problem, a couple of problems that we have. One, just because something is not prosecuted does not mean that it was necessarily a lie. Keep in mind that we already have in law that sometimes you can't find a person, sometimes the person, so if you can't find the person, or there might have been reason not to prosecute, because remember, this is criminal law, so you have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. So they might not have been able to meet that burden. Now, what we want to know and what we did get in testimony was that a lot of times they do not prosecute for perjury. Now, that's where the lie part would come in. So what we need to know is how many times are people actually being prosecuted for perjury, and that would give the answer to your question. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm sorry? Yes.
I did receive information from the state's attorney in Baltimore City for some data. Out of roughly 1,400 warrants that were served in 2025, 1,174 were they were not prosecuted. 1,174.
Out of how many?
Out of 1,400.
So like 70 or 80%, 80+%.
The other thing, the one thing
1174 were
that
not prosecuted.
that does, if I could, Madam Chair,
I have one question on that data, just one question. So 1,400, 1,100 were not prosecuted?
Correct.
Now, does it give you any breakdown
no,
on the?
no breakdown.
Okay.
I've asked for additional breakdown, and
Okay.
like Delegate Embry, I've actually asked for data from Baltimore County, from Baltimore City, the police departments on the warrants themselves, and the length of time it's actually taking them to serve the warrants. Anecdotally, the responses or the unverified statistical data is not available, but the responses have been that most warrants are not served in 72 hours. So to that, there may be some solace that if the state's attorneys request the recall of the warrant within the 72-hour time frame, hopefully individuals would not have been picked up by that point. Hopefully. Particularly those that, where there's not a, after review by an attorney, they don't feel that there's appropriate need for a warrant. So that's one of the pieces of data that I believe the chair has added, correct, Madam Chair, to the data, the length of time to serve.
Yes. And keep in mind that I want to also say that Subcommittee Chair Phillips mentioned something, and I think is a good idea, and the speaker confirmed, to have a work group to study this deeper with actual data, because I think that, we need that data to be able to try to make good policy. Did you finish, Delegate Phillips?
I'm finished.
Okay, Delegate Cardin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'll just say, first of all, what a great job the subcommittee chair has been doing on this, and he's been working all session long on this, so kudos to him. The first thing I'll say is that State Attorney Bates has been, his statistics, at least that he testified to, I think were pretty startling, and that confirms it, what you just said. However, he has not been all that forthright with providing the data, and that has been infuriating for all of us, because we need it broken down, like the chair said, and that's been infuriating. The fact is that perjury is really difficult to prove, and so they can't do it. I mean, they could try and they could lose a lot of them. And if it's worth, I guess, everybody's time and money to do that, instead of fixing the system, then we can suggest that they do the perjury. But I believe that we need to fix this. And given that 80+% of cases that arrest warrants are issued by commissioner and null prost, that seems to me like we do have a problem to solve. So I think the idea, and this is what I think Delegate Harrison was talking about when she was talking, but that we're arresting first and asking later, which is what this amendment does. I think that's, even if for the most part, and as you said, there's a little bit of solace in knowing that they don't get issued within 72 hours. But Madam Chair, you're the one who said, you want them arrested right away because there's a danger. Well, they're not getting arrested for 72 hours, for 3 days. The courts.
No, they can still be arrested within that time frame.
I know.
The recall is within the 72 hours.
I understand, which is why I say I don't think we should be arresting first and asking questions later.
But keep in mind, the arrest window is only 12 hours. Is it 12? No, maybe 17 hours. Except for the weekends, And I say that because you close at 4:30, you open at 8, courts open at what, 8? Right?
Right.
So what is the math on the hours? How many hours is that?
I don't, but what are you saying, is that they can only be arrested during off hours?
Yes.
only be issued-
They can,
warrants can only be
the
issued by the
commissioner
commissioner.
would only issue an arrest warrant only when the courts are closed.
So I'm just talking about this. So basically, we're making policy to have a state's attorney review within 72 hours based on the fact that the likelihood is they're not going to be arrested within that 72 hours because it takes that long. But they could be arrested, and that arrest could be inappropriate, but it could be appropriate. It seems to me that this is not, I'm looking at one of the people that the Louis D. Brandeis quote, it's better to have 10 people go free than 10 guilty people go free than one innocent person go to jail. To me, it seems like, given the numbers that you got, possibly as much as 80+% of these people that are, it was not an appropriate thing to arrest them at the time. Maybe they should have been. I have no problem with summons, by the way. And I have no problem with forcing the police to go out there and visit a scene and separate people and make sure they understand that they're going to get arrested if there's another call or something happens. But it seems to me that it's not good policy to base it on the fact that they're probably not going to get arrested, therefore let's issue the arrest warrant.
Well, that's not what I'm basing it on. Here's my concern. I see the statistics a little bit differently, and that is that 1,100 people did go free. 1,100 people went free with the 1,400. 300 people were prosecuted. So I see that as very carefully and meticulously going through and trying to figure out whether or not, one, they should be prosecuted, whether or not they can win the case. So I think Louis Brandeis's argument is supported there. The other thing is that keep in mind that the police officer can issue an arrest warrant. Everybody agrees on that, right? Police officers can issue.
Can-
I'm sorry, they can ask for it.
They can ask for it.
I'm sorry, they can
But a police
seek.
officer can arrest.
Okay,
Without a warrant.
let me go back then. Let me go back. I'm sorry. The police officers can arrest without a warrant.
Correct.
With that said, do they always get it right?
Yeah.
No, they do not. So that's a problem, unfortunately, we cannot solve today.
Right, but that's a different problem, Madam Chair.
But that's my whole point. It's a different problem, but it's part of what you all are saying. Because if you tell me that within these 18 hours or whatever it is, this window of time, and as well as the weekend, let's keep in the weekend there, that we are afraid that there's going to be all these arrest warrants issued incorrectly, then I just can't fathom that the same way you do, because in my opinion, the police are already having the ability to make the arrest. So there are people that are being arrested improperly, and their arrest is being reviewed. The problem is, the biggest problem with this whole thing is, it's a he said, she said sometimes. And it's not really he, it could be a he and a she and a she, because it could be neighbors. Keep that in mind. It's not just, certain communities. But anyway, I've talked enough. Let me let some of these other lights be heard. I've got McComas, Taylor, Simpson, and Moon. So McComas?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just briefly, we are changing a judiciary system, okay, that is a separate branch of government from the executive and the legislative. I think we need to have a discussion of the police, the judiciary, and I think that a task force is the way to go, or a study group. We are not ready for prime time. We don't have the factual data, and there is the potential that somebody could get hurt because we switch it over because we're worried about the liars and the cheaters, and we're not worried about the victims. And so I have some real concerns. And plus, there's the education point of it too, that if it passed, we got to educate the police, we got to educate the judiciary, and I think we need to know what they're really thinking, because this is changing their system. It's not changing our system. And I don't think the legislature would be very happy if the judiciary came in and said, oh, I think you should do X, Y, Z, and W. And that's what we're doing to them. Thank you.
Well, thank you. With all respect, I will tell you, I have been in constant contact with the judiciary branch during this entire process. So just to want to let you know, we've gotten feedback. But I do respect what you're saying. I have Delegate Taylor next.
Actually, I wasn't.
Okay, Delegate Simpson.
Okay, and I do think the work group, I do think everybody has worked, and I appreciate all the work that you've done. I appreciate all the work that you've done, Madam Chair, and everyone, even your staff and everyone else. I do want to point out, and I know we brought this up before, when the hearing was, taking place, there is a legislative report, for the Maryland General Assembly that was done back in 2013, a study of the Maryland commissioner. So we've been at this for 13 years. And that everywhere you see that Maryland is primarily the state that has this system of commissioners. I do have concern that, I understand that they have training and everything else. I do have concern that they're able to just do these warrants and these arrests, and that, like you said, even one person going to jail, it just seems like we can do this more on like a ex parte peace order, and hey, if you have trouble, you call the police right then. It seems like it needs to go far. I mean, I like that we have this, I hope we're agreeing that this is not it, like, hey, we've done this bill, that we're still going to be looking at it. I do think we have to be cautious about focusing. There did seem to be too much focus on the false reports, because I will say there are a lot of people that terrible things happen to them, and then, that they, it is true, and then they say it isn't true. I mean, you see that in children and child abuse, and you see that in domestic violence. I mean, because there's financial security and all that. So I would hope that we move away from trying to say that there's all these people. It's highly possible that it's still true, that it happened, and that they recant, which I think is probably, and I'm sure there are some that are perjury. I think is the more that we focus on the arrest and trying to make sure that on safety and what are we putting into place, because there are states that are moving away from the criminalization of domestic violence and are looking more on like the fatality review and putting into place things, safeguards to keep people safe. Whether it's the police going out and checking on them. So if they come to a commissioner, instead the police are going out and making sure everybody is safe or something like that. There are other places that they've come up with without arresting.
Okay. All
and
right.
holding.
Okay.
I don't think we can do it between now and 1 o'clock.
Okay. Let's go to Delegate Moon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I really just have questions more than anything else. The first is on the probable cause determination. I mean, the whole question is, for a person, is someone in danger or are they not in danger? That's the heart of the question. Are they in danger or not when the district commissioner is closed? Now, the way this, when the court's closed, when this, the way this is set up, it says there's a probable cause determination by a non-lawyer as to whether they are in danger or not. And I guess that's my question. What does that mean? Can that probable cause be determined solely on the basis of their word of mouth or their allegation? Or is it probable cause that needs to be pegged to some evidence? I don't know what we intend here, but that's my first question. Can probable cause to arrest someone be based solely on the words that they allege happened or not? That's question number one. If there were even a shred of outside evidence, it might make me a little bit more comfortable. So that's probably all we got time for.
Okay, and I will just let you all know that we did have, I will have for you all later on today what the training is that the commissioners go through. Because it's not merely, a one-time deal. It's not merely a one sheet of paper. I talked to the chief judge, and he explained that there is extensive training that they get so that they can make that probable cause determination. And keep in mind that we allow officers who are non-lawyers to make a determination of probable cause all the time. With that said, you all know we've got to go to the floor. We'll be back. That we will to be continued. Thank you for your meeting. Of course. I didn't see your light. I'm sorry.